All right, trying to figure out if you're gonna buy a piece of land or buy a house for an investment or what the heck the difference is between the two of them. In this video, I'm gonna compare and contrast how buying land is different from buying a house. All right, in this video, I'm gonna give you multiple steps of how to avoid like the snare traps and the pitfalls of buying land and buying houses, how they're different, how they're the same. They're really not that much different. Like one's a little easier to buy than the other. So let's jump right in. All right, so let's talk about houses first. You know, houses, someone will give you a loan to buy. You know, usually a bank, it's fairly easy to get a loan to buy a house. Land, not so much. That's why we do a lot of land seller financing, or you got to go to like a hard money lender or the landsharkscapital.com to get loans on land. But houses, there's a lot more lenders out there on houses. Let's go to insurance. Insurance companies will insure against that house if it's ever damaged or destroyed. They'll pay for it to be rebuilt. Land, there's really nothing to insure because there's nothing to insure on it, like except for the dirt and the trees. And if that gets destroyed, like there's not too many insurance companies that will insure your trees. All right, houses. Houses all have a secret. Every house I've ever bought to renovate or we buy a house to rent out, there's always some weird secret. So for instance, I bought a triplex. The secret of that house is the basement floods about every single 3-year time frame. And we ended up having to put French drains and a sump pump at the front door and the back door. Thousands of dollars worth of work. But I wish I would have known the secret when I put all the beautiful carpet and new walls and baseboards. The first year I owned this thing, it was rented out, amazing tenants, and the entire basement flooded. And I wish I would have known this. If the seller just would have told me this, I would have implemented all those things beforehand so my tenant didn't have to go and stay in a hotel for a week while I suck all the moisture out of this property. Now land, there's not really many secrets. There's nothing to flood. It's just a piece of land. Now you'll know really easily if that land's in a 100-year floodplain. You can research this. You can look at FEMA websites. You know, what's happening on this land. Really, it's like what road frontage, all these things. You can figure out land very easily. So there's not really many secrets with land. All right, next, let's talk about house inspections, home inspections. I highly recommend hiring a good home inspector when you're buying a house because you want that home inspector to peel back that carpet. You want them to look underneath things, look through the air vents, look through the air vents in the floor. Actually get on the roof and figure out if it's been leaking. Look at the ceiling, look inside of the attic. We bought a home that the inspector totally missed this. There was buckets in the attic with towels down. And this was a sight unseen home. We were moving from Colorado to Florida. If I would have known this, that would have told me that roof had been leaking for some time. So when we get there, it's like the first week, and Florida, it like rains every day, and we've got drip drop, drippity drop drops all in our house. And it's like, oh man, I wish we could have prepared for this because we didn't realize it was leaking until we got there. And I noticed the ceiling had some brown marks on it. Total indication that the roof was leaking, and the home inspector missed this. So how could I point the finger back to myself? I should have gotten some recommendations. I should have gotten some referrals. I should have called to make sure that this inspector had done well for another investor in the area. So I looked at it myself. With land, you don't really have to inspect it. You can send somebody to take photos and video and pictures for you, but they don't have to pull underneath the carpet and see what's going on. They don't have to look in the attic of land. It's just so much simpler, so much easier. I don't know if simpler is a word, but it's so much easier to buy land because there's less inspections. So next is a title company. There's really no difference between a title company with land or houses. You want them to just check the encumbrances, make sure there's no liens, back taxes. I once bought a piece of land that I didn't use a title company for. It had a $157,000 IRS tax lien. That's where land and houses are no different. You want to use a title company for both of them. All right, houses, they stink. They smell. They're like dirty, stinky old cat pee houses. Granted, I love buying the cat pee houses because that smells like money to me because I'm gonna get it at a crazy discount because I gotta go in and rip out everything and spray vinegar on the subfloors just to eliminate the cat pee. Quick little tip, you're trying to get rid of cat pee or dog pee or urine, You want about a 1-part solution of vinegar, 4-part water. Something that vinegar will crystallize urine and get rid of that smell, but you gotta literally soak it. And if that doesn't work, go 50% vinegar, 50% water, and that'll get rid of it quick. But you don't want that on brand new carpet or floors. You wanna get rid of that before you put in the carpet and the floors, and then paint. Paint after that. All right, I digress. So the difference between land and houses, land doesn't stink. There's beautiful trees, there's grass, there's streams, there's rocks. Like if a cat pees on it, it's gonna wash away in the rain. So that's the difference between those two. All right, I'm not promoting one or the other. You know, I love land. I've built my business on land, and we also buy and sell houses. But one thing about land is just so much easier. There's no buildings on it. There's no roofs to repair, no sewage to suck, no foundations to fix. Like none of that is on the land deal, but the houses, each one of those, and remember I talked about at the beginning of this video, there's always a secret of every house. So nothing to repair on land compared to houses. All right, and lastly, mold. Let's talk about mold. You want to make sure you're not buying an old moldy house. And I wouldn't stay away from a house that had mold in it. You just need to know that you got to go in and remedy these things. You can't sell houses to people with mold in it. A lot of times you got to rip the stuff out or spray it with bleach and kill the mold. But there's things called black mold. When I was stationed out in Germany, when I was in the Army, like I had to spray my ceiling every time we got out of the shower because mold, it was literally black parcels of mold would grow on the walls. And if we didn't air out that bathroom every time we used it, and it was like 20 degrees outside, I would have to open the window and let this thing air out so mold wouldn't grow on the ceiling. But sometimes people just let their houses go and never open that window, and it spreads. It spreads throughout the house, and then you got to rip out the walls and you got to start new. So land doesn't have mold. Like, you know, you're not buying land with mold problems. So you might be thinking, I'm a handyman, I can take care of all this stuff. Yes, you can. And it just comes down to a matter of resources, a matter of cash. How much cash you have available to renovate this house, where a piece of land, the barrier of entry is way lower. There's no renovations to make. You can get into a land deal with little to no money sometimes. How do I do that? I talk to people about how to buy land at maximum discounts, and I'll get to that a little bit more later in this video. But I want to get to my due diligence checklist. These are all the things we check on a piece of land that we're buying, and even our house deals. This is in addition to the title company. I'm not replacing the title company with this. This is just extra protection, extra insurance for us. And I have my virtual assistant in the Philippines take care of this for me. And sometimes she finds some crazy stuff. But don't be alarmed. If you find something crazy, that just gives you the ability to go back to the seller and say, hey, here's what I found. I'm actually going to need a little bit more of a discount. What's the most you can go down on the price? And let them give you the information. Sometimes for $1,000 fix, I've seen sellers go down $2,000 or $3,000 just because they're motivated. They want to get rid of the land or the house, and it's not a problem. This will absolutely help you. So I'm going to give you this list, but before I do, I need you to go and hit that subscribe button. I'm coming to you with this content 5 days a week. No one else is talking about land and houses, how to start a successful real estate business. I am giving you all my content for free. So definitely hit that subscribe button. That is your payment today to be a good person, to make sure that you're paying it forward. All right, back to the DD list, the due diligence list. Due diligence is just another word for research. Really, that's it. And as promised, I'm going to give it to you, but I just want to name off a couple of things that's very important that I've found that's like saved us so much money. Things that the title company misses, like for instance, we bought a piece of land that had a water tap on it, and there was no lien. There was actually no lien from the water company, but this water tap had been costing almost $10 a month for the last like 5 years. So there was actually a payment owed to the water company, but they had never put a lien on it. So we actually had to pay this while we were closing for the land to make sure that we weren't going to have any issues. So one of the things on there is call the water company, call the electric company, even if there's no water or electric on site or a house on site. That's one of the little hidden secrets of land. Like, you want to make sure there's no past bill, and the title company would have missed it because the water company in this particular example did not put a lien on the property. So I would have had to pay that before we ever could have hooked up water to this land. So that's one of the 16 items on this list. So to find this list, as promised, it's below in the description. It's thelandsharks.com/DD, as in due diligence. All right, as you all know, the real estate market is absolutely hot. Builders took about 10 years off of building houses because of the collapse of 2008, 2009. We usually build 26 million houses in a 10-year time frame. Well, the last 10 years, we've only built about 6 million houses. So there's a huge demand right now on land. I've got a tried and true method of buying land at massive discounts and turning around and selling the stuff for a profit in your sleep. If you're interested in getting started in land investing, you're looking for someone to kind of walk you through step by step, go on to thelandsharks.com, schedule a call with my team. We'll see what your real estate goals are, and if we're a great fit, I'd be honored to coach you. Again, that's thelandsharks.com. Go to my link, schedule a call, and you can find that link below in the description.